Hello and welcome to Liberty Nation's LNTV. I'm your host, Mark Angelides. Now, the race for 2024 has started, regardless of whether people in politics or media say it hasn't. And to join us speaking about this is Liberty Nation's political columnist, Joe Schaeffer. Welcome, Joe.
Hello, Mark. Good to be here.
It's really great to have you on. Now, Joe, I know you've been thinking a lot about this, doing a lot of writing on this, but the media seems to be targeting certain members of the GOP who, as things stand, have let's call it a reasonable shot in the Republican primaries. What are your thoughts?
I mean, they probably are, but if you're a Republican voter, that's a good thing because you know they're going to do this anyway, and the heat is going to be explosive the closer it gets to the presidential election. So let's find out right now who can handle it and who can't. And we've seen some unforced errors. Regardless of how you feel about the issues, they were mistakes that shouldn't have happened. Ted Cruz going to Cancun was a mistake. If you want to say the media blew it up, he still shot himself in the foot doing it. It was an unforced error on his part. Can he survive it? Probably. Can he keep doing things like that? No. I thought Kristi Noem made an unforced error with her transgender veto, where she was so vocal on the issue beforehand. And then it was obvious that she caved to corporate interest, the NCAA pressure in her state, Amazon building a new warehouse in the state. And she just kept digging the hole by denying what was fairly obvious, blaming it on conservative cancel culture. You can't do that. You just cannot do that in this day and age. So to me, it's unforced errors. And do you blame the media for that? Or do you blame these potential candidates? I think it's good for Republican voters to see how these people handle these situations.
Whoever's to really blame for it, obviously besides the people who have let themselves down when the rubber meets the road, but there does appear to be a very cozy relationship between the Fourth Estate and the Democratic Party right now. From a business point of view, for the media, is it good for them to be so tied to one party, or is it a risky strategy?
I think that horse is out of the barn. It's gone. I don't think business interests are really what's motivating this thing. This is an alignment. The big box media is part of the ruling establishment that got Joe Biden installed in the White House. Election fortification, as a famous Time magazine article said. They're in on this. They're part of the team. It's not going to change. If you are a Republican candidate, you know this going in. You know it's not going to change. And how wonderful have things been for Ron DeSantis lately? Things are just lining up for him. Kristi Noem is blaming conservative cancel culture, and he's got 60 Minutes as just the perfect target. Their irresponsible attack on him the other day, where the Democratic mayor of Palm Beach County came to his defense because it was so flagrant what they were doing with the accusing him of taking a supermarket money and then giving them favoritism on vaccine distribution. It was so easily disproven. He disproved it in 60 Minutes, as egg on their face. So DeSantis is looking fantastic. The media is the perfect foil for you as a Republican. Embrace this. Don't argue. Don't complain about it. Embrace it.
Or use it, in fact. Use it to your advantage. Yeah, DeSantis' star really seems to be on the rise at the moment, especially his response to COVID, his more specifically, his refusal to keep the state closed, which, as we've seen, Texas Governor Greg Abbott seems to be following suit on this. And with that, his star is also rising. So he seems to have, let's say, Ron DeSantis has lucked himself into quite a prominent position and could be one of the big front runners come 2024. Now, speaking of, we've kind of covered this a little bit, but speaking of the GOP big beasts, out of the ones who do seem to be pushing for a national platform further down the road, who's been under fire and who has a chance of walking out of that fire unscathed?
Well, first, I would say Trump is still in the driver's seat. I think he really does want to run again. But we're not talking about him, I understand. We're talking about potential candidates if Trump doesn't run. I still think all the action, all the excitement is outside of Washington, D.C. If you're a senator, if you're Ted Cruz, if you're even Josh Hawley, who the America First people like, I think it's a liability to be tied into Washington, D.C. in any way. So that gives a built-in advantage right there to a Ron DeSantis or a Greg Abbott. And I'm not quite sure about Abbott's appeal nationwide. I think DeSantis is the stronger between the two of them, but it's early. Things can change. Kristi Noem was really in such a wonderful position. I just can't get over again why she did this to herself. She just really had to be on cruise control. And I think it points out what the Republican base is looking for. They're looking very carefully at, are you doing things the old way of politics, which is what Noem showed, which is currying to your corporate base, your donors. She did it so obviously. Or are you the new style Republican, which is the more populist nationalist Trump people are looking for, someone who puts the interests of the American citizen first, someone who looks at the regular guy. Coronavirus is the perfect example, getting pushed around, this petty tyranny they have to endure all the time. Are you standing up for the little guy? Kristi Noem stood up for Amazon and the NCAA. Ron DeSantis is giving the appearance of standing up for the little guy and his freedom in Florida. That is what the Republican base wants right now. So anyone who wants to be this beast, you can't be doing it the old style of Republican politics. Don't be playing up to special interests. That is a sure ticket to having your hopes dashed completely.
I mean, a last question for you, if I may, Joe. What do you think is going to happen with the Republican primaries? I mean, we saw in 2016 that it was a come one, come all event. And so you had people from all areas of the big tent, as it were. And then, of course, Trump just pulled their tent down. But going into 2024, I mean, I think we're going to see, as you say, we're going to see a lot of people at least putting on an appearance of an America First populist nationalist candidate approach. But we're also going to be seeing the, I'm not entirely sure what to call them, but the Mitt Romney types, the John Kasich types. Let's call them the more old guard, the more left-leaning Republicans. Do you think it's going to be a wide tent, or is it going to be like 2020 where everybody just kind of gets out the way for the chosen one, whoever that happens to be?
Yeah, this is again assuming Trump doesn't run. If Trump doesn't run, 90% of people are getting out of it. I really believe that. Even the establishment types, they know they can't beat Trump in a primary in 2024. I firmly believe that. But
the numbers back it up. Yeah, if he runs, I mean, he wins the primary, he'll win within the first third of states, or almost certainly. So.
But let's say he doesn't. I don't think it opens an avenue for these establishment candidates. I actually saw Mitt Romney's name being floated again in an article as a potential 2024 candidate. I mean, who wants that? Nobody wants that. But it's an interesting thought. Nobody really wanted him in 2012. I remember it vividly. There was nobody saying, gee, we really need Mitt Romney to be the Republican nominee, So they want to go back to selecting the nominee. And I just don't think the Republican base is going to put up with it. What you're seeing with this backlash against Kristi Noem, Nikki Haley, types like that, is they are sending a clear message to the party. The old way of doing things is not going to work. So that is going to hurt a whole bunch of establishment candidates right out of the gate. You have to have genuine popularity, or you are not going to get a high profile run going. So that's going to thin things out. The interesting thing to me is, who is the America First candidate if it's not Donald Trump? It's not going to be Mike Pence. Forget about that. That's not happening. Again, DeSantis is in the driver's seat, but so much can change. I really think it's going to be an outsider, a governor, maybe somebody, who hasn't come up to the fore yet. You don't even have to be a professional politician anymore. Trump showed that. So there might be a surprise. But it is going to be someone who does not make the unforced errors that we've seen in the past couple of months. You can't go to Cancun when your state's freezing, Ted Cruz. So there's so much that can change, but if you orient yourself with Trump's base and you don't make mistakes, that's the way forward, I believe.
The unknown unknowns coming for 2024. Joe Schaeffer, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And that's it for this edition of Liberty Nation TV. Remember to hit Liberty Nation News for original articles, The Uprising and Rabbit Hole podcast, and our signature television program, The Conservative 5. Just go to libertynation.com on your browser, or hit Rumble, YouTube, or check out Liberty Nation News Roku channel. I'm Mark Angelides. Thanks for watching. This program is a production of libertynation.com, conservative news where truth matters.
Who are we? We are Americans that believe in liberty. We are a project of the nonprofit One Generation Away. We are patriots who apply the founding principles to the issues of today.
And they keep moving the goalposts on us.
We are educators and commentators who love America and the Constitution. Who are we? We are Liberty Nation.